The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey, this is Scott Wilson from the band Saving Abel. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather, and as always, I am bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a privilege to have Mr. Scott Wilson. He is the bassist of Saving Abel and formerly of Tantric as well. So he's a singer, songwriter, and music producer and has his Sunshine Studios out in Colorado. I would love to go to Colorado one day. But anyway, glad to have Scott on here. We're going to be talking about Saving Abel, Tantric, everything, plus these other bands that he has worked with and produced their albums and stuff, which... to me, this is pretty damn cool when you have a musician who has stepped into the producing realm, because that's a whole different world. I know he's probably used to this by now, but Scott, how's it going?
Hey, man. Everything's going great. Getting over this holiday. I am out right now actually on a little solo acoustic tour, and so I just got to my hotel room, thrown a couple pillows on the bed, leaned up, and said, I can breathe. And then... here we are.
At least your favorite team didn't get their ass handed to them in a bowl game for football for college. So,
who's your team?
I love Notre Dame. Yes.
Okay, well, you got to remember, I'm from Kentucky, so when you say football, you know, UK,
that's
you
right.
know, I'm from right there, so that doesn't even go together, even though this year they did okay, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So, I mean, you both are from Kentucky, so there you go.
Yeah. Yep, I saw your 606 number there. I was like, uh-oh.
Yes, sir. I'm from the eastern part. I'm from Floyd County, eastern part of Kentucky.
I'm from Berea originally, if you know where that is.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's where I grew up and spent most of my life.
Not too far from me. That's pretty damn awesome.
Yeah. Lots of McKee running, if you know where McKee is over that way.
I sure do. Yeah. I'm pretty proud. I'm sorry, folks. I like to talk sports a little bit, so forgive me and Scott. We're Kentucky fans. This is in our blood, so back off.
Exactly. We can't help it. You know, we bleed blue.
That's exactly right, and I'm so damn proud of what Coach Stoops has done with UK football in the past couple of years. You know, it's like he said when he came in, it's a building process. It's not going to happen overnight. Yeah, sometimes they acted like they didn't show up for the game, but they got the job done. I'm so very proud of UK football for winning that bowl game yesterday against Penn State. And got to give your hat off to Penn State because they never backed down. That was a good game. Oh, yeah.
You know, and it was amazing. I didn't get to watch it, but my dad was keeping me up to date and texting me and letting me know what was shaking. So, yeah, it was he was really happy and excited, and that made me even more excited than just a regular win.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of Josh Allen because look where he came from, because he was a JUCO transfer. No. He wasn't even going to play for Kentucky, and they wasn't nobody after him. And then UK went and got him, and he was going to sign to like a little small school. And then they're like, hey, come play with us. And now look, he's probably going to be like the top 3 draft pick in the NFL draft. That's huge for Kentucky football.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Coach Couch, we're talking like early 80s.
1970s, man, when they had their 10-winning season.
I remember my mom when I was a little kid. We had just moved to Kentucky, or back to Kentucky from Phoenix, and Mom got me a T-shirt that said, "Hold on, Coach Couch, I'm on my way." So I never played football, by the way. I gave it a shot I never even got in one game. The first game was coming up, and I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. I know how to play an E chord, though.
Looks like it's paid off very well, my friend.
Yeah, it's kind of fanned out.
So you're doing your acoustic tour right now, or kicking it off. Do you like this side, man? It's more intimate, if you ask me, for the acoustic setting. Do you like this more? It's more personal, you think?
You know what, man? My history, it's a very weird, strange musical avenue I've taken. And years ago in the 90s, I was focused on writing songs, and I used to perform around Nashville a whole lot, just me and an acoustic guitar. And that's kind of where I got used to that, because you can't cover anything up when it's just you and a guitar and a microphone. You're just looking at the people, they're looking at you, and you got to have your game on. But I love it, man. I love to be able to interact, and I'm out here on the road with my good buddy Michael Alexander, who's a big ham, and I'm a big ham, and then our merch guy and good friend Dino was out here with us. I can't even pronounce his name, but it sounds like Jeff Spicoli. But anyway, now he's looking at me right now, so I'm just giving him a hard time. No, I love it, man. I love to sit there and just talk to people like I'll call people out, and, we have a good time. And it's more or less just like a songwriter's round, and we sit and play. I do some Tantric songs, I do some Saving Abel tunes, and I do a lot of songs that I've written through the years. And then I do people's favorite songs, and sometimes I'll just make up a song on the spot. So it's a whole lot of fun.
Has there been a song that fans are actually more favorable of, possibly, that you could say, maybe that they look forward to hearing from you in this acoustic set?
I'm more known for my years with Tantric just because it was a longer period of time in my life. And so anytime, I ask if there's any Tantric fans, there always seems to be a few more Tantric fans in my acoustic shows than Saving Abel fans. And I think it's just because those people have gotten to know me a little longer. I've only been with Saving Abel for we're working on 2 years. We're closing in on that gap. So it's cool, and I love those people. And a lot of the Tantric fans are fans of the Days of the New stuff and fans of acoustic. If you love Days of the New, you're going to love anybody that's acoustic. So
yes, sir. Days of the New was badass. It's just hands down.
For sure, man.
God, that band was awesome. Let's jump right into to Tantric. You stepped away from Tantric, and then you joined Saving Abel. We're going to talk about all this, but I want to get around to Tantric for a little bit. When you joined Saving Abel, what was the appeal of that band to say, this is the band I need to be part of, when you went away from Tantric, if that makes sense?
Well, it all kind of happened cohesively. My band in Tantric had quit us a number of times, and I had a whole bunch of drummers, a whole bunch of guitar players through the years in that band with me and Hugo. And this last batch, we had a good friend of mine, Brian Bonds, from the band Florida Georgia Line, had come to play with us. And then Mike Smith, our drummer that we'd had for a little bit, they both quit. And I kind of just thought, wow, this is going to be interesting after our tour. And I was riding the bus with Saving Abel. We were on tour together, and they said, hey, look, don't tell anybody in your band, but I know you guys' bus broke and you're like, being scavengers for rides. Won't you ride with us? So I was riding with Saving Abel, but I didn't know the real reason was Eric, their original bass player, was going to leave, and he was wanting to talk to me about it. So we were out there about 3 months riding around and just discussing, the possibility of me leaving the Tantric, and I didn't really know what to do. And the final straw kind of was in Madison, Wisconsin at Bratfest, and I didn't get a phone call or anything, but Hugo didn't come to the show. So we had about 10,000 fans at that show, and I fronted the show, which I had done a number of times when he missed a flight or something like that. So, and that's what had happened this time. I'm not upset with Hugo, and I need to get that out. We're brothers. We still tour together. We're still friends. We talk on the phone.
Sure.
But he missed his flight and didn't let me know, and I was upset. And we did that show, and I had hired 2 former members of Tantric to come out and do that show with us. And after that, I was just kind of pretty sure I wanted to make a change. And my original thought was just to go to Nashville and do the whole Nashville thing again and be, a hired gun of sorts. But they made this offer to me, so it made sense. We're all rednecks. We're all from the South, and I got along really well with everybody in the band. And, we were writing songs for a new record before I was in the band. It just made sense. things click, you feel it, especially in music. And I just said, oh, okay, well, cool.
Exactly. And that feeling. It's hard, folks, if you don't understand what me and Scott's talking about, when you get that feeling in music and you know what it feels like, it's like when you find a girlfriend or something. It's like, yeah, this is right. This is where I need to be. But that's cool, man. I'm glad that came about like that. But I know Tantric was your first thing and everything like that. But, you've actually helped out on a couple of Tantric new songs, correct? Am I wrong?
My history, like I said, it's kind of weird. I did a lot of country acts through the 90s and played with a bunch of really big country acts and a lot of well-known songwriters. I got to tour with those guys and do a bunch of cool stuff. And then Tantric came along, and then it's about 5 years ago, we started this record that just came out. So Hugo and I and a guy named Tommy Gibbons, which was the guitar player at the time, he's now Flaw's guitar player, a phenomenal talent. The guy's a great writer, great composer, and he and I got along really well with music. And so he and I and Hugo composed some music, wrote some stuff, and we started recording this record. And then touring just got in the way. I couldn't ever lock everybody down to get back in the studio again. So a couple of versions of Tantric have happened since then. And so those songs that we wrote are on the new record, and they're really good. And I want to say, too, the new guys in Tantric, they're just super good guys. And, I really, really like those guys. And they did a great job on the record and changing stuff up. They did, wrote a bunch of new stuff and stuff. So it's all really good music. And it's called Mercury Retrograde. So if anybody doesn't have it out there, check it out. It's really cool.
Coming from the countryside and being in a metal / rock band, do you like this upbeat tempo? I mean, to me, it's going to be a lot better than country. I mean, you like what you like, but I mean, is this a bit step up for you possibly?
It's all different. The reason I joined Tantric to begin with was to be part of the band and have, 4, 3, 5 guys, however many there are in a band, make decisions together, try to profit from each other and have a brotherhood. And, there's nothing like the feeling of, standing in a crowd going, these are my bros, they got my back, and we're all, friends. It's so cool to wake up to your phone on Christmas morning and everybody in your band, Merry Christmas, buddy, and that was the reason that I kind of got out of the hired gun scenario and joined a band. And then as far as the music goes, I like it all. When you're playing it in the moment, it all feels very similar. Country is a very well organized, oiled machine where you're there at 4:00. If bus calls at 4:00, if you're there at 4:01, you're being left and someone else is taking your place. And that's how Nashville runs. And I kind of like structure, so it's not a bad thing. But it's very regimented and it's a whole different world than rock and roll. But, yeah, I like a lot of both sides. If you could put them together, it would be the ultimate, but that's not possible.
I want to jump in on Saving Abel right now, and I thought this is really cool. You guys played Whiskey A Go-Go a couple weeks ago, and you had some members of the Doors to come out to listen to Soundcheck. How was that?
Oh, my gosh. Let me tell you this story. This is awesome. So we're there early, which doesn't happen very often with Saving Abel, by the way. We were there early. And the guys, we're up in the dressing room, and we're just chilling out, and our crew is setting up all our gear. And all of a sudden, a couple of the guys come upstairs, and they go, hey, the couple members of the Doors, the band The Doors, are downstairs. So I was like, what? Whatever. So anyway, we went down. What had happened was, I like to say that, what had happened was, the Doors were filming a documentary, and there was a film person there, another person, and then the 2 members of the Doors. And they walked in, and Dino tells them they have to leave. This is a closed sound check. You guys need to go. But he had no idea who they were. Tourists just walk in all the time with the whiskey. So, this is a closed sound check. I need you guys to go. Sorry, hopefully you can come back. Saving Abel's playing here tonight, whatever. So they go outside, and then the guy with doing the documentary or somebody came back in and said, hey, these are 2 members of the Doors. You know the band The Doors, right? And he said, I am so sorry. You guys come in. Can I get you a water?
buck of water. You want some beer? You want some liquor?
You want a beer? Do you want my guitar? Whatever it is that I have, you're welcome to it. So it was awesome. But then they turned out to be so nice. They were so like gracious just to be there. And we didn't ask if they knew the band or not. Who knows if they even do, but we shook their hands, took some pictures. They were so nice. And, it was funny because I watched the documentary after that and I was blown away. I was just like, I just hung out with those two guys for like 15 minutes and that was pretty freaking awesome. So huge thing, pretty wild.
It's amazing on what that band has done for rock music. It's unprecedented on what they have done, honestly.
Oh, yeah. And if you've seen the documentary, they got fired from the Whiskey A Go-Go. They were the house band there for just a minute, and they were fired from there. If you need to watch the documentary because I'm not going to say what happened.
Yeah, for sure. I'll check it out, man, because I'm a huge Doors fan. I love their music. I like listening to it on the records and stuff and albums, but I like them live. That's to me is the Doors. It's a live show. That's the Doors.
Yeah. Oh, dude, for sure. Yeah. And you never knew what was going to shake down. That was the trip of being an audience member watching that band.
Let's talk about Saving Abel, man. You guys are in the process of recording some songs right now. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we have been working on this for quite some time, and we started the record a couple of different times, and nothing really felt right. And then now we're in the studio and doing some in Nashville with Skid Mills, which is the producer that, brought you the first three records. So back with the hit maker is what I call him. But some great music, man. We're really excited about the record, and we just keep writing, so it's not going to get done as long as we keep doing this. Eventually somebody's going to have to put the clamp down, but lots of new stuff, and I'm hoping that we can have this thing out, at least a single out this spring, and probably the record, early summer.
Working with a producer that you're familiar with, that's got to have added bonus for you guys because he knows exactly what you want. Does he let you guys just do your own thing? And I know you guys have done this for a long time, but does he step in and say, hey, let's try this, let's add this? Does he push you guys hard or anything?
Oh, for sure. And Skid has co-written most of the songs that you heard on the radio from Saving Abel. So he is like a member of the band that doesn't go on the road. And, and he's a good guy. So, yes, he definitely pushes everybody, to the max. And it's coming out really, really good, man. And I'm excited because, you know what, it sounds like Saving Abel, but it also sounds very current. So I'm excited for a lot of these new fans to hear new music of a band that they may not know,
When can we expect this out? Possibly? Are you guys looking for early this year, spring? What are y'all thinking?
We're hoping to have a single out in the spring and possibly the record early summer. That's our goal, but we haven't signed to a label just yet for this record, and we're just kind of shopping around for that too. So just depending on what their plans are for the record, once somebody gets their hands on it, is the big thing.
Now, you started your career at the age of 17, but when did you want to add the producer role to this? Did you just, take it and say, well, I want control of my own music. I want control of having to do this when I want to do it. What was that, man? What was that spark for that for you to add the producer role?
Here's a funny thing, and people who are musicians understand this, but when I was a kid, of course I didn't have a studio, I didn't have a way to record things. I had 2 cassette decks, and I would play one cassette and record onto the other, and then I would put them together, and I would keep doing that process until I stacked a bunch of parts. So I was orchestrating parts even though I didn't know what I was doing. And then later on in life, I learned, oh, you're building pieces, that you're being the different instruments and putting a composition together. So my mentor was 8 years older than me. He was my best friend since I was 14, and he was a producer. If you being from Kentucky, I'm sure you've heard of Superfuzz.
Yes.
Okay, so Superfuzz was kind of Lexington's claim to fame for a long time. They had a couple hit songs, and Houston was the one that tracked all that. He was my best friend. Houston Barger's his name. He's from Richmond, Kentucky. It's way about 5 years ago.
I remember that band.
Yeah, he was one of my heroes. anyway, he kind of got me into recording and teaching me how parts work and things like that. And as I became an educated musician, through actual education in school, I learned that I loved putting different pieces together and make things, so different notes, weird instruments that shouldn't play what they're playing. And I got a kick out of it. So it became a huge thing to me. I guess I was probably, 13, 14 when I first started slinging down tracks and composing. But when I started playing my first gig when I was with a band called the Hymnsmen, I learned a lot about composition because we had a phenomenal band. Everybody was a great, great studio player, and they all kept lending an ear to the kid, which was me at the time. So it was pretty neat.
I want to go jump back here a little bit to 2017. You produced and composed Source, Fall from Silence, produced and recorded it. Last Savior of God, produced and recorded that one. And plus 2018, man, you had even more bands to come to you to produce and record it, like He Killed 3, the Lax. And I'm just going to run through some of these, and there's a bunch of them. Chadwick McIntyre, you've got Rick Monroe, Myth of Creation, Michael Alexander, Ashes Fall. Was it Jamie Shuttle? Hope I pronounced that right.
Jamie Shuttle, yeah.
Jamie Shuttle. And Paul McCoy. I started to say Paul McCartney. Paul McCoy. And Psycho Village. I mean, My Silent Bravery. You've done a ton of stuff, man, recording and producing wise.
A lot of those, too, I helped kind of broker their deals along to where they, get them to the next step. So some of those names you mentioned, I didn't actually record, but I did help them get to the next step of their career.
When you're working with a band or an artist, Scott, as a producer, what do you want to get out of them? What do you want them to succeed as when you work with them? How hard do you push them? Or do you just, the same thing as the previous producer with Tantric on those albums? What do you do?
Yeah. The big thing, that I do is I try to be a good judge of people's talent and their character. And that takes a little while. You got to get to know them and how well they can play their instrument or sing or how much they can adapt. So you kind of judge that, and then you push them to be the best that you can help them be. And many times, and I've done this before with bands, the drummer can't cut it for a record, or the guitar player's not good enough. And then you have to figure out a way to work around that. So whether you hire a session guy or, I do it, or, somebody, my engineer, Richard's a really good guitar player, you never know what you're getting into. So we're doing pre-production, which if the people don't know what that is, before you start a record, the producer will work with recordings or go to rehearsals, or depending on how busy we are, help them arrange the songs, get instrumentation down, and then have the band rehearse it that way. It's where when they come to the studio, we're not burning, $100 an hour studio time. We're making it very, very efficient. So in pre-pro, I try to measure where these people are. I'll bring up things that may be a little far-fetched that I think they may have an issue with being able to play, and then, bring it back to realism. And what I want to do for all these people that I work with and artists is lend my ear to make it capture the best them that I possibly can. And I want to put my flavor on it, because if I didn't put my spin on it, I wouldn't be doing my job. The other thing that I look for, if it's a marketable band, is to help them be as marketable as possible. Get the formula for, radio, get to the chorus in 50 seconds, all these, little formula things that people say and do, try to help them get to that, develop their hook. And, I enjoy helping people, but my favorite thing is just the composition of music, just making things that, shouldn't be.
Here's something, and I'm glad I got you on here, and I'm glad I got a producer on here, because I really like what you guys do, because this is stuff that goes on behind the scenes, folks, when you make an album. It's an awesome album, it's cool to do all this, but this is where the work comes into play, is when you're creating all this stuff. And like Scott said, when you're in pre-production, you're figuring out what needs to be done and which way you want to go. So when you have these musicians and artists come into you and they say, I think we want to do a EP, do you ever say, like, hey, look, I think we can do a full length, because I think these songs, we can add some more to this to get a full length? Do you ever like have to say, well, no, let's just stick with the EP, or do you just say, okay, let's do the full length route? You ever run into that problem?
Well, yeah, the big thing to me is budget. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I don't work cheap. I don't work free. And, you know, I if somebody has a certain budget, you know, part of my job as a producer is to manage that budget at the best way possible. So I try to advise them if they have, I've had bands come in, they have just one phenomenal song that's just ridiculous good, and they only have X amount of budget. I will say, let's put all your money in that one song, because we can make it as good as we want to make it and make it unbelievable. And then we can shop that one song. And the big thing with me that I do as a producer is once I'm finished and we're done, I do open my Rolodex. And if it's something I believe in, I send it to, you know, my record label friends and get input. And, you know, I've had decent luck with having some of these bands get out there and get on the road and actually have some success on the radio charts.
Here's a cool question. Now, if you can, what has been your best and most difficult album to record, Scott?
Oh, gosh. There's been a million on both those fronts. You know, I will say one of my favorite records that I've done lately, of course, the Jamie Suttle record, it's country. It's phenomenal. It has, you know, Brian Bonds from Florida's Georgia Line. It has Steve Henson, who has played steel guitar for everybody under the sun. The fiddle player is the house player at the Grand Ole Opry. Everybody on this record is an amazing talent. I mean, except for me. I played on it too, but all these people are amazing. The record came out good. She's a great talent. I was fortunate enough to co-write a lot of those songs, so I was very partial to that record. Another one is Chadwick McIntyre. His stuff is second to none. The guy can sing anything I tell him to sing. So I had a lot of fun working a bunch of vocal arranging with that, so we could do 4 or 5 different vocal parts that he could do, you know, and that made it a whole lot of fun. As far as the worst, you know, I've had a couple of scenarios where the people, you know, I see them live, think they're a good band, we talk, we make a deal, we work it out, and then we get in pre-production, and then I tell them that I just can't do the record. You know, and that's happened a couple of times. Just it more or less lack of being able to play as well as they need to be able to play for me to produce something. Because when I produce something, I'm stacking all of my years, all my thousands and thousands of hours that I've put into being a good musician and studying music, and you're asking me for my input. So I do value that, and most people do. So you're asking me to sell my soul essentially if they're not a talented band. So yeah, I try to sway away from that. But that's the worst thing is I've been to a couple pre-pro meetings and then dissolved that relationship, and you know, try to be civil about it and just let them know, you know, hey, you got a little ways to come before you should try to reach for the stars. You know, keep playing, and I advise those bands still. So no hard feelings, but you know, that's the hardest thing for me to do, because I don't like to break people's hearts either.
Now, we're living in the digital era of recording albums to get music out quicker, and plus now we got social media to reach out to more people who may have not got to hear of anything that you've put out there. Do you like this, Scott, of getting stuff out quicker with digital and plus social media to reach out to more people? Do you like this?
You know, I like it now that the legislation has caught up with it as far as royalties, but it was very difficult because a lot of artists, including myself, we weren't getting our checks from writing, creating, producing, playing on stuff. You know, we were getting pennies on the dollar compared to what we got before. I think if bands, you know, are starting out and they just want to get stuff out there, then yeah, I think it's awesome. You know, they can do a CD baby, they can just put out their live videos, whatever they want to do. And, you know, who doesn't want to just hear new music? It's everybody's favorite thing to find that new band nobody's heard. You know, that's everybody wants to do that. And my fiance, Christina, is an absolute genius at that. And I wish I was as good as she is. But just finding that new band and, you know, hey, then you tell all your friends about it. It's fun, but I'm not nearly as good as she is, but everybody tries to do that.
I discovered a band from Germany. I'll absolutely love metal music. But I found a band called Tenside. I got them on YouTube is where I found them at. On there looking one day, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah,
Who's
literally.
this band? And I mean, I was really floored. I was really floored by their music. I mean, dude, it's in your face. It's like right up in it. It's like it's got a meaning to it. It's with conviction. It's with like, I mean, if you don't put the hairs up on your arms and the chill bumps, there's something wrong, because that did that for me when I listened to that band the first time. I was like, oh man.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, and I love that, man. That's fun, and good for you. I'm glad you found somebody like that, because it's sometimes a battle to find new music. But social media has made access to everything way easier, and it's pretty cool, man. I think people can get their stuff out there even if they're not looking to set the world on fire. They just want to be heard. I think it's awesome.
What made you want to become a musician, Scott? What was that spark for you that said, "Yep, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do right there"?
I was really bad at sports. I'm joking. No, I really wasn't good at sports. That's no joke. But you know what? I was a kid, and I used to sit on my back porch at my grandparents' farm and watch my grandfather play banjo and harmonica. Like, not at the same time, of course, but I was always just intrigued with music, like immediately as a kid. And I've always said music chose me. I didn't choose music. And I really do believe that. I think because it was something I could never extinguish. I started begging my parents when I was about 5, to pick up an instrument. I'm like, can I play something? And I started with piano, and I hated it because I was learning songs that I didn't care about. I'm like, I want to learn Home Sweet Home from Motley Crue,
Yeah, there you go.
But, and jump. I want to jump from Van Halen on piano. But because that didn't seem interesting to me, I kept venturing on and finally wound up with guitar and then transformed over to bass.
Is there a country that stands out or even shocks you that Saving Abel or Tantric that you was part of formerly get support from, that the music has even been played there that you can tell, or even the bands that you've helped? Is there any that shock you, man, at all, possibly?
Yeah, Turkey is really weird for rock and roll. Believe it or not, the country Turkey has a lot of rock fans, and not just our military. It's a lot of people that are over there that dig music. And Tantric toured over there and had some decent crowds and decent success. So it's pretty wild. And you just gotta get out there and see who knows it. We did our European tour this year, and Saving Abel had never done a European tour, which is hard for most people to believe because they've toured everywhere with USO. We had success, had some good fans there, had a lot of people, but relatively unknown in Europe.
That's crazy. I wouldn't even thought that.
Yeah, so this album we are going to focus, of course, on making sure it's saturated over there as well. So now that we've done a run over there and some more people know our names, we'll just gradually build that up there. And my good friends in Blackstone Cherry are kicking butt over there. So.
Yes, sir. And oh my God, Blackstone Cherry is one hell of a band. And Kentucky natives, thank God for Kentucky boys. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm very proud of those guys because it's very hard to get out of here and not be a country band. You know what I mean? It's like,
for sure.
So kudos to them because they deserve everything that they've got. They have worked their tails off for it. That is for sure. Well, I'm sure you get this many times, but what's it mean to you when you receive an email from a fan, or prior to the shows or after the shows, they say Saving Abel's music or any music that you've been involved in has pulled them through a bad experience, or it's gave them the inspiration to overcome just the simple obstacles and things like that, or just lets them relax and get away from the everyday bull crap, Scott, that we go through? What's it mean to you?
Man, that's the reason we tour. And most musicians that have been at it for a while and, will tell you that. The stories and the people are why we're out here on the road. I would love nothing more than to be home and, take care of my fiance, take care of our house, our dog, our businesses, and do all that stuff. And I love it. But the effect that we can have on people, is it's amazing. And I can, for sure, personally, that's the whole reason that I tour is people telling the stories. And, as musicians, we just try to convey emotion through song. That's essentially what music's supposed to be. And invoking any emotion, whatever that song is, you know, you're giving people freedom for a minute from their own thoughts. And it's so cool, man. And that's, you mentioned earlier about the intimate setting with acoustic music. I love that because I can close my eyes for a second, open my eyes, and then look in the crowd and see who is really feeling what I'm doing. And, you know, it's awesome. I've heard so many stories and so many things, how I've touched people's lives and how the music and our bands or whatever. And, you know, that's the whole fuel that keeps our fires going out here on the road for sure.
I know you said your grandpa was a spark that got you into this, man. What's he said about this? What would you think he would say to you about all of your accomplishments through music that you've got the spark from him?
Yeah, he was gone before I ever did anything worthwhile, but he would love it. You know, he really loved music and just anything that would get people together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he would love it, and you know, my parents are really proud of what I've done. And you know, early on in the years, I've always heard, "Oh, you can't do that, you can't do that." And you know, now they said we did. Actually, this past week, my parents and I had a conversation, and they came to Colorado to visit me, and my mom said, "You know what?" She said, "We never listened to you. We just truly never thought you could make a living doing this, and look at what all you've done."
Yep.
And that, you know, that meant the world to me because, you know, my dad was a businessman and he always tried to get me to get into the business. So pretty cool.
As a Kentuckian to another fellow Kentuckian, good job, brother. Good job.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Because, you know, the struggle is real. It's very hard with the economy way it is here in Eastern Kentucky because I struggle from day to day. I honestly hate my paying job that I have.
Right.
You know,
right.
I do technical support during the day, but this is my love. This is it right here. I don't get paid for this. Just a simple handshake from a musician is my pay. That's all I ask. And that's it. So bless you, man, for everything that you've done. Saving Abel, new album this year pretty much coming up?
Yeah, new album coming out this year sometime. Keep your eyes out for that. And, you know, I've got a few songs that'll be coming out of my own this year too as well. So keep your eye out for Scott Wilson stuff.
How can folks stay in touch with stuff that you're doing and plus Saving Abel? How can they do that, Scott?
You can go to savingabelnation.com, and then, of course, you can go to scottwilsonmusic.com. So scottwilsonmusic.com is my page, and you can go on there and see what's shaking. And my schedule is usually on there, and of course, there's always the Facebooks. But, yeah, just check it out, man. You know, just follow music you like and come out and see us and hang out with Dino, the merch guy. He loves hanging out with people.
And before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Sure. Hey, this is Scott Wilson from the band Saving Abel. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We've got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please go out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link plus our YouTube link. Get out and check out Saving Abel's website, plus check out Scott's website. Give this band a chance, plus Scott's music a chance. You won't be disappointed. Thank you, Scott, so much, and the best of luck to you guys in 2019.
Appreciate you, brother. You take care.